Hello everyone, my name is Aditya Dhapre and I would like to heartily welcome all of you joining us here at the late Shri C.J. Bhumkar Online Memorial Lecture for the year 2021 organized by the Color Society Mumbai. The topic for today's lecture is going to be supply chain management under the pandemic situation for raw materials and finished goods. And now, without further ado, in order to get started, I would like to call upon Mr. Manik Salunke, the Honorable President of the Color Society Mumbai, to give us the welcome address. And on to you, Mr. Salunke. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are very sorry because of some technical problem. We are starting a little bit delayed. Apologize for the same. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome you all for Mr. C.J. Bhumkar Memorial Lecture on supply chain management under the pandemic situation for the raw material and finished goods. Today, on this, I feel a privilege to welcome our honorable speaker, Sri Deepak Karanjikar, Mrs. Priya Bhumkar, the Color Society past president on behalf of the Color Society. This lecture series actually regarded not only to commemorate the memory of Sri C.J. Bhumkar, but also testimony to his belief to get together from the different fields for the betterment of the countries and subsequently the whole world. Mr. C.J. Bhumkar was an outstanding technocrat. He worked for the Asian Paint as a technical manager and as a director for more than 20 years. And during this period, he shouldered several critical roles due to his high level of the knowledge, professionalism, and his passion in this field. He established the business successfully known as Saujanya Colors Private Limited that manufactures the pigment dispersions for the different types of paints, inks, and all the colors. Friend, today we have, I believe, a successful entrepreneur should be a leader. She should be a people advisor. She should be a risk task. He should be visionary, energizer, a systematic business analyst, should be open-minded, a creative, and a good motivator. And without any thought, I can say that Sir has all these qualities. I consider myself a very lucky to get opportunity to meet him and interact with him to understand his thoughts about the advancing technology, about improving the quality of the product and services. And because of his constant quest nature, he always used to try to bring different people together with diverse background, with the different opinions and ideas around one common table who belongs to the different spectrum of the society. Today we have a great speaker, Sri Deepak Karanjikar, a founder and mentor of Executive Consortium in United States, who has multifaceted and inspiring career. Today we feel extraordinarily fortunate to have you with us. Sir, our sincere thanks for taking the time off from your busy schedule and spending a time with us this evening. Today, friend, in all business, we are facing a lot of issues and the challenges. Take any field like agricultural, retail, industries, they are struggling to survive. And many small scale industries are already collapsed. There are many challenges, many issues like keeping employees and customers safe with us, market crash, and there is a big recession, going to be a digitalization, So a lot of issue we are facing. You know that there is a shoring up, a cash liquidity issue, reorienting yourself in the operations, money management, reorienting again yourself with the customer, weak productivity, and higher fixed cost. There is a great need of the technological advancement. With this, again, there are challenges because the government regulations are also coming up. You know, there are different regulations like toys regulations, plastic ban, plastic waste management, and many more. And along with these issues and the challenges, there are inflation. You know, the RM costs are increasing like anything in this pandemic situation. And you know, we are not independent, we are dependent on many countries for the raw material. For example, for the color, we have to make the color, we require the pigment. And for pigment manufacturing, we require a lot of intermediates to manufacture the pigment. And for the pigment manufacturing, that intermediate will have to dependent on many other countries. And because of that regulation, there is a lot of price increase in the raw material, and customer is not ready to pay higher costs. In fact, the customer demand has going down. And because of this, the margin for the organization is squeezing up. Sir, today, the people and organization both are under tremendous pressure. And we know that today we have got speakers, and he will definitely emphasize on the demand and supply position of the raw material, the finished goods in today's pandemic situation, and give a guideline to us. He will guide us to release the stress and how we can be, mentally strong in this difficult situation. Friends, I'm sure you all will enjoy his lecture. Before moving ahead, I would like to also brief about the objectives and some of the activities of the Color Society. The Color Society was founded in 1952 by late Professor N.R. Kamath, along with the prominent individuals such as Major A.J. Hammonds, Sri N.S. Bhartiya, Dr. K.J. Kudwa, Sri R.V. Raghavanji, and many more, with the objective of spreading a scientific and technical knowledge to color and allied industries. Every year, we organize Professor N.R. Kamath Memorial Lecture and Sri C.J. Bhumkar Memorial Lecture. Last year, we have on 8 September 2020, we had conducted Professor N.R. Kamath Memorial Lecture. We also organize the annual conferences and seminars every year, and are attended by large number of personnel from industry and technological institute and from all over India and abroad. We also run a part-time diploma courses. And friends, I'm very happy to inform you all that from this year, the Color Society had started an online diploma course in ink technology along with the pen technology diploma. And today I'm very delighted to inform you all that this year we had almost 70 admissions for the diploma courses in this pandemic situation also. This year we are also able to invite a global and local expert in this field to deliver the lecture in paint and ink. In this pandemic crisis also, as per our every year practice, we had organized an online webinar on 7th August last year 2020, and we have instead of 2 days we had a 3 days annual seminar on the subject technological challenges and supply chain challenges in the coating industry post COVID-19, where we had invited Professor Suhas Pednekar, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mumbai, as a chief guest, along with the various other speakers. On the opening days of the webinar, we had inducted Dr. Srikant Padil and Professor Mahanava as Fellow of the Color Society Award. And also, we also felicitated Mr. G.L. Chandavarkar and Mr. M.D. Sabnis with the Lifetime Achievement Award. I will take this opportunity to encourage all non-members to become a life member of the Color Society and will work collaboratively to face the technological challenges and come up with the solution on it. Friends, I once again extend a hearty welcome to you all and look forward to enlightening and engaging this session. Take care and be healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manik Salunkhe. And next, we would like to invite upon Mr. Shrikant Joshi in order to share a few of his experiences and his thoughts, and also introduce to us the man that this lecture is dedicated to, late Shri C.J. Bhumkar sir. On to you, Mr. Joshi.
Welcome once again. Actually, Bhumkar's biodata everybody knows. However, those who are new, for them it will be useful. Okay, I'll read fast. Time is very short for me. Mr. C.J. Bhumkar, founder and chairman of Saujanya Color Private Limited, completed his BSc Tech, MSc Tech from University. Now it is ICT. Fellow of Surface Coating Technology from UK. He was a member of American Chemical Society. He has worked with Asian Paints, the topmost paint company in India, for 20 years. He was technical manager and director of the company and was a member of the board of directors. In 1982, Mr. Bhumkar started Saujanya Enterprises as a proprietary company, morphed as Saujanya Color Private Limited in July 2008. The company is highly specialized in dispersion of pigments, producing unique products for their paint industries. The products manufactured by Saujanya are world-class and exported to 35 different countries in the world. Saujanya Color Private Limited is ISO 9000 certified company and rated highest performance company by CRISIL. He held important positions in the industry associations like Chairman, Indian Paint Association, Western Region, that is IPA, President of Color Society, member and Managing Committee of UDCT, that is ICT, Alumni Association. He was bestowed with Color Society Lifetime Achievement Award, Fellowship by PACT, PACT, and Entrepreneur Award by Indian Achiever Forum. He is distinguished alumni of UDCT. He was a permanent invitee on the government body of Indian Paint Association. He was honorable editor, advisor of Paint India magazine for almost 40 years and has published more than 50 technical papers in various journals. He is listed in the directory of world's who's who. Mr. Bhumkar has chaired many sessions of the association like IPA, that is Indian Paint Association, ISPA, Color Society, PACT, IRMA, and Indian Painting and Ink Manufacturers Association. His company, Saujanya Color Private Limited, has instituted awards like Gold Medalist, HPTI, Kanpur, and also iStar, Vallabhnagar, Gujarat, for the topmost ranker in paint technology examination. Now, this is the introduction of Bhumkar Sahib. But for your information, I was associated with him for several years. And as a matter of fact, in Color Society, we have practiced that. Just give a small experience with yourself and with Mr. Bhumkar. Number one is that, first of all, we never call Mr. C.J. Bhumkar. We always call Mr. Nana, because Nana is our favorite word. Now I will tell you what is his specialty of his. Already he has, Mr. Salunk has introduced about his career and personality. Now from that personality point of view, I'll speak few words. See, in Asian Paints, he was taking a round in resin development laboratory. That is where we were working. And he will ask only one question. What is that? What is new? And that what is new, he will not in a simple way. What is new? And actually we're scared. What is new? What to do new? If there is no new, then he will just pass away. He will just, okay, what is new? Tell me. This what is new mantra has embedded in me for several years, several months and several years. And one day I was thinking, what is new? What can be given new in wood finishes? So I decided, let us do one thing. Let us modify alkyd resin with isocyanate that will give faster dyeing and it will be new to the company. Something like that, I thought. Immediately I started working on that, and maybe after hundreds of experiments, ultimately that isocyanate modified empty thinnable product was born, and it was named as Touchwood by Asian Paints. This was the first development in India that has happened at that time. The important point is not what I did. The important point is this could be done only because of the mantra, what is new, and still today I am following what is new. And the last but least, last sentence I will tell you. Myself and Vishwas Puranik, director of Ideal Trust, and Pandurang Deshmukh, former president of Kadar Society. Whenever we meet together, unless we talk of Nana, our meeting doesn't end. That's all. This is what I wanted to do. Thank you very much for giving an opportunity to speak on the behalf on in the Color Society forum. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Shrikant Joshi, for sharing your words and your experiences about late Shri C.J. Bhumkar sir. And now I would like to invite Mrs. Priya Bhumkar to say a few words to all of the people here in attendance. On to you, Mrs. Priya Bhumkar.
Hello, everyone, and hello to all the people who are listening in, and also to all the members of the Color Society. I'd like to start with saying it is really, really incredibly nice of you, even in such difficult circumstances. We are still continuing the commitment that you have to continuing with this CJ Bhumkar Memorial Lecture. Our entire family is touched and overwhelmed with this, and thank you so much. We remember him even more so now in this condition. This entire last year and a half has been a very difficult year for everybody. With COVID, we have seen the impact of COVID and perceived and experienced the impact of COVID at very personal level. With families, friends being affected, with our work being affected, business being affected, neighbors being affected. And also people have experienced loss at a personal level, particularly in the second phase of COVID. So in fact, this is a time, and today with today's memorial lecture, we are remembering Mr. Bhumkar even more so because of certain qualities and the teachings that he has left behind for us. Most of the people who knew him personally will remember him, apart from the bio data, which is pretty long and runs into a couple, 2-3 pages. I think everyone will remember him as a very, very warm human being, as a friend, philosopher, guide, and mentor. He has touched many people's lives over the years, in the industry. An extremely jovial person, very well known for his wit and for his, power of speech. He was extremely vibrant person and very multifaceted as well, always full of energy. You will never see him quiet. I don't think anyone ever saw him quiet. Whenever anyone met him, he was always full of life and full of, always had a smile on his face and a very hearty laughter. And always connected very well and at a very personal level with people. What he has left behind for the next generation and for all of us behind is his ability to deal with challenges. Indeed, with the COVID challenge, which we are now facing and have been, for a long time, and we really don't know when this is going to end. We have seen him as we grew up, dealing with extreme challenges, whether it was, in life or with the business. He became an entrepreneur pretty late in life, in his midlife. Actually, he was in his early 40s when he quit a very secure job with Asian Paints. But he had this thing about being an entrepreneur and about establishing something of his own and about creating an entity, which was linked in the marketplace and which stood for something. So during the thing, we have seen he faced several challenges. Starting a business, anyone who's an entrepreneur knows that starting something new and founding a business is really not easy. We have seen him fight with the challenges, and he had an attitude of never give up. I remember there were so many challenges which came along, and he was always, very sticky with them. Chikati, in Marathi, there is a word which is called as chikati. We have never seen him afraid of anything. He was never afraid of hard work. He was never afraid of a challenge. And whenever there was a problem or a challenge, we've always seen him, just, dealing with it and coming out on the other side, successful and coming out with a solution. Which also brings me to the point that always, given now coming back to today and what we are faced with today, there is a challenge, yes, which all of us are facing with COVID. But the other side of challenge, if challenge, there is a coin, on one side is challenge, on the other side is an opportunity. And this is where I think even today's speaker, Mr. Deepak Karanjikar, he comes in. Because he's also going to talk to us about, given these challenges of COVID, etc., that we are facing today, how can a company or an individual still seek opportunity within that? I would actually say that COVID has brought the world closer and the people of the world closer. You see, we are so connected with each other all the time, and people are wanting to do good for others, people who are affected. So COVID actually brought the world closer. We are living in a more connected world. Of course, we are living in a very fast world because, with constantly we are on Zoom and meetings and, having everything digitally connected indeed does increase the speed of things. So given this, what is it that we can do differently? What is it that we can do better? And innovation, it's an opportunity for innovation, which is also what Mr. Bhumkar stood for, of course, with R&D and technology. But even in terms of every aspect of living, he was a very innovative person. So today's platform connects all these points very well with challenges and opportunities and innovation. I think these are the three pillars which connect whatever we are trying to do today and say today in this lecture. So thank you, Color Society, for arranging this. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate the fact that you are continuing to to do this in the memory of Mr. Bhumkar. Our entire family is very obliged, and thank you so much from all of us. As far as Mr. Karanjikar is concerned, we welcome you. And we are very avidly waiting to hear what you have to say. I know that you have a very vast range of, experiences and expertise in your life, and you have spanned right from a professional career to that of an artist. We've heard and we have seen you. I'm sure you'll bring the flavor of all of these different experiences that you have had in your life, and which have made you what you are and brought you to the point that you equipped you with all of this knowledge and expertise that you have. We are looking forward to hearing you. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you for your kind words, Mrs. Priya Bhumkar. And now, before we proceed with the lecture, I would like to invite Mr. Prasad Purandare to introduce to us our lecturer for today, Mr. Deepak Karanjikar. So on to you, Mr. Purandare. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I am Prasad Purandare, Chairman, the Color Society Pune chapter. It's great honor for me to introduce and welcome the chief guest, Mr. Deepak Karanjikar, for today's late Shri C.J. Bhumkar Memorial Lecture. Mr. Deepak has a multidimensional career profile. He has no doubt a great orator, writer, actor, and competent international project management consultant. Mr. Deepak is basically electrical engineer, did his process engineering in Germany and various management courses in Stanford and Berkeley universities. During his bright career, he stayed in 6 countries for 30 years and visited more than 50 countries, gaining wide experience in high-tech industries, worldwide service organizations, automation and ERP, large-scale process manufacturing and management consultancy, and in coaching and human transformation. He has got more than 20 credits to his professional career. I'll be quoting a very few. He had worked as a board member for several multinational companies on their customer council in US and India, keynote speaker for various international seminars and events, chief advisor for SME Association at Mumbai, member of advisory board of Maxwell Foundation. He was a part of Prime Minister Consortium for Socio-Economic Advisor with Niti Aayog, the national person and trustee of an economic movement NGO called Artha Kranti. He has also written the 2 books with the multiple editions. Besides above, Mr. Deepak is award-winning actor, acted in 21 Marathi, 5 Hindi and 2 English movies, along with the 16 TV serials and the 19 Marathi plays. Mr. Deepak is also professional trainer to top executives and CEOs of multinational companies. I am just concluding with his few career achievements and the rewards. There are so many more. I know we all are waiting for his interesting and informative lecture on the supply and chain management under the pandemic situation and raw materials and finished goods. Now over to Mr. Deepak Karanjikar. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad, for that kind intro. Thanks for kind words, Priyaji. I especially thank Mukund Bhullalkar, my best friend, who made this connection possible. And I wholeheartedly thank Prasad Salunke and Shrikant Joshi and all the dignitaries. I respectfully remember late Shri C.J. Bhumkar, sir. Well, it's a color society, and that means I call it a rainbow society because rainbow is a part of color always, and colors are part of rainbows. So I start with that. I think you need to enable my screen sharing. Aditya, enable screen sharing. So I will start with my slides, and I can go with the flow as I go, and at the end we can have questions, and you might have several questions. I'm very glad to be here because I understand the audience is a very well spread and very well knowledgeable people in this audience. So it's my privilege to be here. So what this pandemic did, and I just want to put only one slide on that so that we all understand that how last several years from 1995 to 2020, 25 years, how the GDP of the world traveled. So there was a crisis in subprime crash and global financial crisis came before this. And during that time also, there was a big slump on the GDP growth. And of course, during the pandemic, Corona. Why I'm showing this to you about the world? Because we need to understand the problem and the placement of our problem. So per capita income of the world came down drastically after 1870. This was the biggest downfall since 1870. The $4.5 trillion lost as a global output. The world GDP when it was lost was 145 trillion. Normally, every year the world trade grows 2-3% every year, but it was down 9.5 to 12% this time. Another biggest impact happened. The population below poverty line in the world came down to very earlier mark of 15 years ago mark. But there is a blessing in this disguise, and always there is. The financial scams world has faced for last 2 decades. A hush-hush kind of thing got exposed due to this pandemic. Most of the financial management irregularities got surfaced. So the new system can replace and can be placed in the world now. And that is a very good news from the business point of view. There are certain things happen in the entire supply chain of the universe. The US lost its position for global impact power, and EU, as it came as a very relevant as a united global player, they also lost that position. World Economic Forum focus now would be permanently shifted to Asia, and the other thing is China has lost the trust. So a complete new supply chain would evolve now, and we are going to see that. EU has labeled China as a systematic economic rival, and that's a very big blot on China, and that will definitely impact China in coming years. US administration has prepared literally a plan to target Made in China 25 was targeting China's initiative when Jinping took over, and US is going to target that. There is one thing which has been agreed in various forums of the world in last 1 year, and couple of them I got a chance to attend, where people said very openly, the businessmen, entrepreneurs, and the world business leadership has very openly said that we will choose democracy over dictatorship as far as business is concerned, which is a very dangerous news for China, which is a very good news for us as India. Global GDP forecast is again 5 to 6.5%. This is changing every month. So don't give much weight to that. For India, And literally in this global, like we have seen a 50,000 height problem from 50,000 feet. Now we come down to 100 feet, and we see for India, year of crisis, definitely, but the opportunities for Indian industries. And I know there is a very big negativity, there is a very big, kind of shadowing behavior in the industry right now. But still, I'm saying this is the best opportunity we got. India may have turned towards the road of recovery now. That's what the recently GST collection and other numbers says. Diversifying sources of supply chain beyond India is the biggest priority nowadays. For India, golden chance after 1991. When 1991 we opened the world for globalization, we opened our gates, there where we had very little choice. So the entire tilt of the government went to the service industry because our infrastructure was struggling and we could not in a capacity to become a manufacturing hub. But now it's a very different thing. And after, fortunately in 30 years, we got another chance now. Factors like below are the best first time in last 5 decades. And this, when we see international thing, people are seeing from this way. We might, day to day, we are in the problem. We are in the circles of issues. So we can't see where our placement is. But the world sees first time that there is a stable government in this democratic country. There is an inclination of the world towards India. The infrastructural conditions are getting better day by day. And government is ready to make policy changes without any red tapeism in the way. There are 2 SEZs opened in last pandemic year, if you all know. One is in Noida and one is in Uttar Pradesh. Both are in Uttar Pradesh, and one is in part of Madhya Pradesh, where there are around 600 hectares of land has been allocated with one window and all the permissions given, and a lot of industries are pouring in there. So it's a good chance for us to turn our side, as they say, we turn our slide. So Atmanirbhar is brought by our Prime Minister, and people make, a lot of, there are comments from here and there, and I don't deny that, because how many, the more number of people, more comments will always come in, and that's okay. But when we think, we should think why Atmanirbhar he has said, because there are some certain things happen in the world because of this pandemic. What world understood, a developing world, that the global financial systems operate as a constraint to India. And when I say that, I say the example of fiscal deficit. There is no economic basis for this 3 to 3.5% fiscal deficit level, which we did for last 4 years of this government from 2014 to 18. We maintained the fiscal deficit 3.5. But this was a limit or a thumb rule set by European Union when they came in the arena. So there is no economic basis considering India's condition. We do not have to follow that. Our economists and strategists are not thinking of India. That was another thing which we found out. Why people are up? Because they don't think, they think India as a part of this Western world, which is not so at all. We are all the time copy-pasted Western theories, and because the DNA of the Indian setup is so different, where the unorganized sector contributes 50% in GDP and employs 75% of the workforce, the entire Western theories and Western models collapse here. This model misfit 1/6 of the world population country that we have understood. That's why the Atmanirbhar is. Nobody will say this open and loudly because it is not good to say politically. It is not politically correct to say that, but I do not have any voting politics and nothing, but I can say what, as an economist, what I can see. In our country, always remember the stock market listed companies only contributes 5 to 6% of our GDP. It has reached to 7% year before. And the unlisted companies, MSME sector, they contribute 50% of GDP and 80% of employment. So we have those regulations which a stock market follows, the regulations which listed companies follows, they have less impact, and we cannot get bound in that. We are bank-driven economy. We are not market-driven economy. That's the biggest difference between a Western economy and Indian economy. We are still looking for credit. We are still looking for a bank-driven money raising, and we are not a market-driven economy at all. So India has total 30 crore migrants, but state to states are 4 crore. These are the pandemic scenarios. And out of 4 crore migrant workers, only few lakhs are going back to hometowns. This all happened, a big churnout happened in India, but these are the numbers which came out. There is a trilemma we are facing post-COVID-19. And the trilemma is because of the intellectuals and various people, they voice out their opinion without really thinking the DNA of India. There is a healthy economy, medically healthy society, and healthy democracy. There is a fact of life that you cannot have all three. You can have only two of three at a time. You can either have a healthy economy and healthy democracy. You can either have a medically healthy society, because the resources which we have diverted for the last 5 decades, they could not draw a single line through these 3 points. And that's the dilemma we are facing. Atmanirbhar may be one injection, not a one solution at all totally, but some part of it will be taken care by Atmanirbhar. The coronavirus effect on global supply chain, and I see a chart here and the percentage, and you see the darkest point, darkest side is in Australia and India and South America. All others are, there is a percentage left side, and there are very few places, few dots of gray in the world. But 35% is the effect of corona on global supply chain, and the India is impacted most in Australia. Before corona, after corona, there is a certain shift happened which we need to understand. Like they say, when you want to analyze a problem, you need to come from a very top view and then come slowly down to understand what are the things changing. Rather than making a huge hue and cry on nothing is changing, we need to understand, because unless we understand the root cause, we will not be able to overcome it. The rise data-led economy was there before corona. Now there is a rise of geopolitics. The disrupted future of work was before corona was a goal, and now the government-driven technical spend, because technology is going to play a huge role after corona. The environmental sustainability stress the world was going through for putting the progress, the growth, and now the prominence for healthcare came in the light. Now most of the world consulting companies, the big fives and all that, their entire projects are driven to the healthcare, rather because that is the root cause for all other issues, as they found lately. Asian economics eminence was definitely in light, and now there is a technical competition. Mass urbanization and hyper personalization was before corona was a thing to think on, and now there is a stay-at-home economy. This home economy dimension has changed the very big companies' strategies and the supply chain also. How the new world of supply chain looks. The manufacturing industry lost 75% of its economic output every day at the height of the coronavirus lockdowns. And this is never before, even the war times did not lose that much percentage. Supply shock started in China in February, and the demand shock that followed as the global economy changed the business dynamics. And the demand shock is still getting followed. The supply shock may be restored at China, maybe China is doing different manipulative way to get this supply chain activated again under their control, but the demand shock wave is still running on in the world, and you are all facing that, so I don't need to explain much. Those developments combined with US-China trade war, they have triggered a rise in economic nationalism, and that is where the Atmanirbhar also stands. There are a lot of developments happen because of US-China trade war, because their trade deficit, it has put the entire world at rampage, and their trade deficits were driving the world progress. And now that since it has been done to economic nationalization, again, in the borders, within the borders, kind of economic direction is going. So that has triggered that. The pandemic exports vulnerabilities on a large scale. Pandemic first time said not only the financial system, but industrial systems. As the processes and the strategies and the management frameworks and the growth frameworks and the vision framework, those are very vulnerable that we came to know. China has a gigantic capacity, still no doubt, but a huge trust deficit. And now the world will not go by the capacity. World has ran like a mad for last decade on the gigantic capacity of China. But now world is very choosy because China is not to be trusted anymore. Social distancing, furloughed staffs and travel bans have had an impact on the whole supply chain. So this is the new world of supply chain we are in. So if we are a part of a problem which is globally situated, our placement becomes, I mean, you say that that if you see somebody else is also in the pain, your natural fighting instinct tell you that my pain is okay, I will deal with this, let me solve this bigger pain. So the world is in bigger pain, try to remember that. And these are not just words, this is the fact of life. Supply chain as an overall view, I was thinking about India, and I was very surprised to see certain reports that the supply chain market in India to touch $307 billion current year. That's what the projection says. India is a prime destination for logistics service providers. As I said, India was definitely leading the world on services. And the logistics services, because of the infrastructural improvement, is coming to India, and that's a good news. A lot of McKinsey and a lot of world firms who decide or direct the world organizations or economic forums for the destinations. India is in their list, on the top on their list. India can expect 10 to 12% growth in 3 years in supply chain. But still, there are some definitely, the red points which we need to look at. The state-of-art infrastructure is still not there. We are still struggling with that. And I don't think now it is a grave situation like before, but now at least we know what the state-of-art infrastructure, and day by day we are improving that. I'll take an example of road, and we are making 33 kilometers of road a day, which was 9.5 kilometers a day for last 4 or 5 decades. In some decade, it was 3 kilometers a day. So slow in introducing innovative and path-breaking technology. That's where the entire young generation and people like you, the entrepreneurs like you, the people who are always on the innovative path, there is a big work coming there. Industry leaders hesitating to take risk of diversification, that is another hurdle which can make us, look small in the world, because like in India, like China, there is no dictation force. We have to do our own, and that's the freedom we have. And we have to use freedom. When a dictatorship country like China can do changes on the production, on the huge kind of, what they call a huge manufacturing hub, setting up that, we can do a lot of things with innovation, and with less labor, we can do a lot of things. So these are the 3 things which are the indicators which we have to overcome. Paint industry supply chain, you know better than me, but the suppliers, paint manufacturers, warehouses, commercial branches, household market, and professional paint, and all this, it goes in circle. And I'll come to that at the end, because there is a new supply chain model which is evolving now. Indian paint industry, we are still second largest in the world, no matter what pandemic came and going, or is there, and it will go next year, but we are still second largest in the world. Our export value today is 18 trillion rupees, and import value is 39 trillion rupees. Still, we are hugely dependent, double than the import, dependent on the double than the export. Import is double. Industry expected to grow to 75,000 crore in 21-22. Market share of big in that entire paint industry, the big companies, they have the market share of 68%, and the small players, they still hold a market share of 32%. Deep potential to become a major manufacturing hub of decorative and industrial paints. This is a very, very deep potential. There is a paper I read from international firm and McKinsey, and they said that India can be a major manufacturing hub for the paint industry. So if they are saying for the decorative industrial paints, and that's a big compliment to us, that means the small players and the big players both have shown the capabilities in the pandemic or the years before that. It is a chance to showcase for the Europe and Asia. Supply chain disruption causes for paint industry. And I want to list the problem, but I will definitely tell you there is a silver lining in this dark cloud. So don't get depressed or don't feel that we have problems, but we need to understand the problem to overcome that. And it's some at a very high level, some at the atom level. V-shaped market recovery in China led the country to use up many of the raw materials it normally export as also supply interrupted. See what happened, the raw material became, because of the V-shaped market economy, China used the raw material as the finished good in most of the cases. The workforce inconsistencies at major seaports have led to a backlog because of pandemic, shortage of container vessels for shipping new product, The Texas and Middle East energy crisis, they hampered the oil supply chain, and there is a economical reason for that. Major supply chain factories in China, like Gongdu in chemical and Korea in LG Chemical, they suffered explosions suddenly in last year, and the production halted, which were the major supplying hub. The titanium dioxide is difficult to impossible to obtain from China nowadays. The production of virtually everything cannot replace the demand. Shipping costs doubled, and in some cases tripled. Raw material that have historically had lead times always, and they have gone up more from 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it has gone to 9 to 12 weeks sometimes. Lack of gate opportunities at the docks for trucking companies to load good and transfer across country. This happened. Indian port gate infrastructure really hampered very badly. There are insufficient trucks, definitely, and the drivers also to handle the volume of goods. So all that combined has disrupted the supply chain. So there is a supply line we always depend on, and the disruption happened because of the problems. Maybe for some of them, the pandemic is reason, but some of them maybe some geopolitical and economical reasons also. Supply chain disruption is facing unusual instability and fighting on 3 fronts. To conclude all this, there is a raw material availability issue, lead time issue, and the price wars going on. It is very true, and there is nothing wrong to accept the problem that the largest supply chain crisis we have ever seen, we are dealing with right now, and it's a reality of time. It's a fact of our life. Now, what to do with that? Market dynamics in India are still, there will be a strong growth of the construction industry. As per the budget and government projections, government is pouring huge money in construction. There is a huge international collaboration opportunities right now. I mean, the Color Society with the pandemic, and I'm going to appeal several things to the Color Society because of its stature and the reach. And wherever I can definitely help you. But there is a huge opportunity knocking India door about the international collaboration. And I think we should take advantage of that. The Atmanirbhar also has released some leads for the great platform for some leads to the international collaboration and shifting the gears. There are restraints, and there are restraints we need to understand. The automotive industry will be declining for sure. And declining means the combustion engine will change to electric engine, and all those changes are happening. The inventory is at the top. The dead inventory is also at the top level in automotive industries. There are cars and there are huge non-moving inventory issues there. So this industry will not give a big hand in future, and that is a restraint for our growth. We need to understand there is no expectation we should keep. The COVID impact, as we discussed, is definitely there. And the biggest restraint is we are sticking to our old way of business. See, what one thing pandemic told us is change. And I will come to that at the end, but we need to rethink as the life is getting in the rethinking cycle, the entire life, the relationship, the family, the country, the society, and social, economical, political, all cultural, all grounds. Since the entire thing is revamping, we need to also think about the business, and we need to leave thinking to the old way. Supply chain management. 3 key supply chain trends you should know. This is again from the Finance Online site, which is a very different survey they did. One is supply chain areas with highest outsourcing. In distribution logistics, 42% things in supply chains are outsourced. Manufacture 37%, finishing 29%, packaging 23%. This means this kind of works are not done under one roof anymore. This trend will emerge because of pandemic. Now it will be outsourced. Outsourced, when we use the word in globalization era, as outsourced to third world countries. This is outsourced within the country to different people, to different industry. There may be a finishing, packaging, and manufacturing kind of different industries which will come as a whole new supply chain, and we have to watch that. Second, technologies that are becoming priority in the supply chain industry. Supply chain industry is completely using data as a currency now. And unless they use that, supply chain industry will not survive. And that's not a tone for India. That's a tone for the entire world, and we need to really follow. And there are various aspects of technology. One is data analysis. Second is Internet of Things, cloud computing, info security, predictive analysis. Predictive is what if analysis kind of things, which the systems will do, the various kind of apps to reach to people, because connection is not physical now. The connection is not face to face, it's through apps. 3D printing, robotics, drones, mobile production units. A drone company in US has received the orders which they cannot complete in 3 years. And these are coming from the most underdeveloped countries. And there are lot of countries from Southeast Asia, they are putting the orders of drones. Now they are using this for supply chain, because the lot of money of the country, every country will go to healthcare, and there will be a lot of list of financial resources. So we cannot you cannot hire more people, we cannot buy more land, we cannot buy more factory spaces, we cannot grow in that physical sense. Now the growing will be virtual, and for that technology is the only answer. Extent of supply chain visibility among organizations. Limited visibility, still 62% organization. Extended visibility has been in 17%, and visibility is only on production. There are 15% organization. These numbers, these are the trends which we need to think about for using supply chain changes and the new model of supply chain which we want to design. Supply chain strategy is at an anatomy of supply chain strategy. It's a multi-year roadmap, include internal assessments, track domestic and foreign competitors. See, now, because of online business, because of virtual is the reality, you have no borders of countries. You have no borders as the physical borders of a town, a city, a state, or a country, or even a globe. We can just roam around, we can just cross those physical borders, and we can make the access. It must be accepted across the company. Start with customer needs, think about evolving technology, and consider mega trends. Why I believe the reasons to in the future, what are the reasons to believe in future? In India, is improved logistic for sure. Export prospects are growing. You will understand in a couple of years, and definitely next year, and maybe this year end, when our financial year end as a country, lot of vacuum created or the distress created by China, lot of business will flow in, and there will be a huge export opportunity for India. The logistic infrastructure is getting already a lot of upgraded. Most of the ports, because of this pandemic slowdown, the ministry, what I heard and what I'm seeing as the reports coming in, they have upgrading a lot of ports and a lot of infrastructure around the ports. And the domestic also roads and other kind of ports. The 100+ airports and all those things are going on. And there are most of them are in the completion. The marketing strategies are leaping because now it's a different marketing world. The optimizing asset utilization through cloud computing, as I said, big data analytics, we talk, newest technology, we'll talk more. Improvement in the trade policies. The trade policies are changing. Significant reduction in manual intervention, significant improvement is blockchain technology. And we are coming to that at the end, what the blockchain technology is. But these are the things which India never did in last 5 decades. These are the things we never got a chance to look at. We kept on doing business. We kept on working with the government red tapeism in the same pace and same framework as we did for last 5 decades. And now there is a chance to change. There is a chance to get out of that framework. There is a chance to think out of box, and there are opportunities flowing in to ride that change. The situation created opportunities too. Pandemic is an extreme example of supply chain disruption. For any new thing, there has to be, I always call it a constructive destruction has to happen. And thanks to pandemic, it happened. Really thanks. Otherwise, we would have kept on doing the business the way we are. China would have kept on growing arrogantly and enormously in their own way, taking the entire world for rampage. And we would have never had a chance of this 135 crore populated country to think of new things. And that pandemic pause has given us. So thanks to pandemic. Business forced to become more agile, proactive, and fearless for changes. Anyway, I'm losing. Anyway, there is nothing because of pandemic I lost. So person who comes to the rock bottom has no fear to make changes, has no fear to change the direction. The person who are at the rock bottom financially or any situation wise, they bounce back because the only way to live is going up. There is no bottom now because you have come to rock bottom. So that is also, businesses are forced to become more agile, proactive and fearless at the same time. The game plan has changed. Consumer has changed. E-commerce came in big way. You will be surprised to note a data. This was registered last month. In this pandemic of 12 months of pandemic, 150,000 online e-commerce companies have emerged in India. This country we call illiterate people. This country we call of technology not savvy people. But I always say we are very savvy on utility side. We are the only country in the world. We may not invent mobile phones. We may not invent the mobile technology, but we know how to use it to best. This is the only country in the world gives missed call. I'll tell everybody. So the e-commerce companies, 152,000 companies emerged in last 13 months in India who are doing very good business. Because the model has changed. You may not see, the MIDCs, or you may not see the industrial areas. You may not see a huge SEZs now. The business has changed the shape. The relationship dependency, that expired, that is no more. There is no obligatory relationship because the customer is also virtual, the consumer is virtual, supplier is virtual. The relationship dependency, when I say that I am obliged to do, when I get a relationship, I naturally lose a freedom. And you may take time to understand it, that's a fact. What in the relationship we forget is what the freedom we have. We have a freedom of relationship. We never use that because we get habituated to the working we are in. The geographical limits are over, as I told you. Shifting gear is a compulsion, and for that sky is a limit. So you might have come up in your life, and I'll take it to extreme. Pardon me for that, but I must want to take it because I want to tell you what shifting gear means. You might have started your career as in the paint industry. You might end up in some other industry. It does not matter. Business is business, and that shifting gear compulsion pandemic has given us. Centralization of supply chain is over. China dependency is over now. The world is practically looking completely in different direction. Is the globalization dead? Maybe the name has changed. The globalization, the name is replaced by localization. Local is vocal now. So the globalization in the earlier 2 decades definition is dead. That's why again I say 1991, the globalization was most live and the most attractive force for our country. And now it is replaced by the local. And this is the change we need to understand, because you are part of a very high stature society which can define a roadmap for India in next 10 years. Situation created another. Sustainability matters the most now. The consumerism at any cost is history. Now we just want to buy, store and this, that is history now. There are no go down. There is all virtual. Everything is stored as required. Just in time, a concept. It took Japan to put that concept in front of world after Toyota and Honda cars they bought. They bought just in time concept. It took them 2-3 decades to make it to work to understand. But one pandemic has changed it to that just in time. There is no huge piling of anything now. Increased interest among the business community in the circular economy system than a linear one. It's an interdependent economy. It is not one pulling everybody. It is all pulling each other. It is all making each other move in a circle so that all can be fed. That the world has come to an understanding. The world has lost 2 decades in getting pulled by one giant from every front, and that giant negotiated several geopolitical things on that thing. That is gone now. Design out waste and pollution, keep products and material in use, regenerate natural systems. The workforce is flexible now. You can have, suppose there is a factory of 100 employees. You might have these 100 employees in 5 countries. It does not matter anymore. It does not matter the location. That's why the new cost models will evolve. The corona, the COVID, the pandemic pause brought a design time to our dream and use that design time. We always had a dream. When we open an industry, we run a supply chain, become part of a supply chain victim, we become a glorious position because of supply chain. All that time we are pursuing our dream. This pause has given to go to the drawing board and draw a design for our dream in the current situation. Workplace culture loss is significant. There is no workplace culture now. The workplace, most of the management theories, most of the growth theories has come from a workplace culture. That is a history now. That there is no more significant. Opportunities, reduce gap between demand of India incorporation and Indian supply chain. You know, India can generate a domestic demand which will be much more than it can supply. The time will come. The time will come as close as year next. In 2022-23, you will find things that India demand will have more pull than the India can supply. So Indian supply chain has to be stronger till that. Technology based, as I said, I will go to artificial intelligence at the end. I will show you. So these are the virtuous loop now. Formalization, digitalization. Digitalization has formalized a lot of things. Better infrastructure, better different type of jobs, not the earlier way of employment. The reinvest, import substitution, the circle will go on. And that's why I say it's a circular supply chain is the future. Material, manufacturer, distribution centers, final destination, waste, recycling, reuse. That's a supply chain circular now. So there are new avenues of jobs, new avenues of supply chain are opened. And that's why the new avenues of getting raw material also. The rising cost of raw material was the reality. The volatility in availability was the reality. Breaking FG to raw material was a reality. Now, because of this circular supply chain, it would cut down the cost. It will create less waste, recycling. It will be environmental friendly also. It will give really the mantra we have, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that kind of mantra, this circular supply chain will create. The jobs, the raw material, the finished good, they will be like hand-to-hand delivery. It is very different supply chain now emerge now. It is not no more like, you know, our country, our farmers used to wait looking at the sky waiting for rains, and our industry used to wait at some country for getting supplies. Those pictures are old pictures now. Like a farmer can, you know, don't have to look at the sky. They have a different way of doing farming. The entire industry has to change the direction. It taught us a lesson of being self-dependent, which has encouraged the implementation and partnering in the global supply chain. Why can't we become global supply chain element? Why can't we don't change our direction of business and become part of that? Because any collaboration with the international company, any collaboration at a very small level. Now the collaboration need not to be a big merger acquisition project. It can be small handshaking. Reminded us about the necessity of Atmanirbhar, as I said, chance to become new supply chain model for the world. India can show us, and world is looking at us for a new supply chain model, which will use technology, the most intelligent resources, skillful technical resources we have, and the entire service industry, what they have seeded for last 2 decades. Now the fruits, there is a time to get the fruits, and that fruits will be, you can become a new supply chain model we can develop for the world. The artificial intelligence will transform the customer experience. Robots are already in use to improve supply chain in the world. We need to just adopt that. Since we have not invented any of these technologies, we are on the use side, so we don't have to be shy. We don't have to be closed door. We need to open our eyes and look at those what people are using, they were using, and now just take it that. There is a new logistic called elastic logistic, and it's a very powerful tool which will emerge with a new supply chain model. These are the aspects of new supply chain models. The elastic logistic will allow the supply chain to easily expand or shrink according to current market demands. There will be a flexibility factor. It will promote technologies such as artificial intelligence, allow supply chain to adjust as needed with minimal disruptions. Because since it is a circular supply chain, the waste is also low. There will not be mismatch inventory. Provides flexibility to many variables in the supply chain, such as selling schedules, carrier space is completely going to change. The container usage is going to change. The route optimization will happen. There used to be there are autobahns in Europe, and autobahns used. Definitely Europe has progressed through that very well on that supply chain model. But now with the technology, the autobahns are very different. The autobahns in India, the infrastructure India is creating, in that what we can add is very different with the technology. Europeans that time did not have that much privilege to use technology. But now we are at the privileged time, or the age of the technology. The blockchain in supply chain. The blockchain technology can improve supply chain visibility for more efficient management. See, a lot of supply chain things are going because of the gaps of communication, because of the gaps in the visibility. The blockchain technology, which the world started using, and which very high time our paint industry used that. Because if you want to become a supply chain, global supply chain person, or a industry which will be a paint hub for the world, you need to use that. So blockchain, all components of the supply chain can be integrated into a single platform. What are those all components? Carriers, shipping lines, forwarders, logistic providers can use the same platform to update companies and customers of the product journey. One is the raw material replacement from China. The raw material replacement, the government is giving huge thrust right now. I will give you an example of pharma, and you can apply that example in your industry. The pharma, we are the biggest, generic medicine exporters in the world. We export generic medicine to a lot of countries in the world, all developed countries mostly. But the raw material, which is called API, active participant ingredients, 93% are imported from China. With Atmanirbhar, government has said that in next 2 years, the import has to come down to 30%. That means we will be the manufacturers of API. And then we are definitely, exporters of generic medicines. So, chit bhi meri, pad bhi mera, jisko kehte hai, that situation government is supporting. And government is supporting through a program. Government is not supporting through lip service. So try to understand that this is a time to change. Invoicing and payments also can become the same blockchain. Robotic currently play a huge role in transforming supply chain. What happened in a lot of European countries right now, even in China, the robotics are playing a huge role. The technology is developed, technology is invented, it is right to use, it is fitness to use, it is fitness to specification, it fitness to customer demand. These are all been proven. North American company, they have spent $869 million in last pandemic year on more than 16,000 robots in 2020. They are coming in very huge way. So we can be just in that race. We can't be isolated from these changes in the world. We can't be isolated from new things coming in technology, new things coming in supply chain. The drones, self-driven cars in warehouses, autonomous mobile robots will see more use in feeding up manual labor-intensive task. Combined with effective warehouse management software, robots can drastically improve supply chain productivity and the visibility. Artificial intelligence is driving real supply chain. I would urge the Color Society, veterans and the people who have really built this great organization for end-to-end solution in color, in paint world. I would urge very honestly that please allocate some of your workforce, some of the people, next generation people, maybe put a combined effort to get the assessment of using artificial intelligence in all your companies, in all your supply chains, in all your procurements, in all your deliveries, in all your packaging, in all your logistic. Please invest at least 6 months and some good 50 plus resources to study. We can send them, we can go to the other countries and observe what is happening. But unless you do that, this entire face and structure of industry or color society will not change. We will be victims of old times, and some countries in the world do definitely want you victims of old times. They do want a dependency on them. But this is the right time to disown them. It's the right time to get, anyway we are at the rock bottom. So it doesn't matter. So these are the 3 things: artificial intelligence, augmented realities, and virtual realities. These are the things, are the new words new way of doing supply chain improvement in that. These are the only solutions. And if you are not going, that the world is already going towards that. So you will become follower after 5 years or a decade, which is of no use. You wasted a lot of time. It's the right time to put somebody on the job. Right time to get, sometime when we form a society, we form an organization, there is a time to use the organization other than, solving only problem. The organizations are best tool for innovations, because combining together the intelligence, combining together the innovative capabilities can innovate a lot of things. So I honestly urge you that. Floated by, there is another thing which is coming in your way, which you need to understand, which is very important to understand. Sorry. There is a big initiative going on right now on a supply chain resilience initiative, which is floated by Japan. Why I'm informing you on this? Because I got information from the sources here on this, and I thought that today is the right forum to discuss and at least share with you, so that you are aware of that, so that you can put your resources to get that. India, Japan, and Australia, they have formed a resilience forum. What is resilience? World supply China is in the world supply is in the clutch of China. The entire supply chain is in the clutch of China. That is why this develop alternative and the diversify thing. Why? Because managing post-COVID supply chain, Japan is coming with a big strategy. Already come. The documents are already open. People are already discussing in various seminars. Japan has plotted a 5-year strategy that how they want to replace China. It will not be an emotional deal. It will be a very practical and structured deal. US-China trade tension also and supply, because of that supply chain bottlenecks also came. It's time to transform traditional supply chain. And why Japan? Why Japan took initiative? Because in 2019, just before the pandemic, Japan imported from China 169 billion, which is 24% of their total import, and exported 135 billion. Japan is the biggest sufferer of pandemic from China. That's why Japan has started this. And why they made India and Australia as partners? What was the reason for that? Because India and Australia, Japan, the document says, the strategy says, they will, and they would like to replace China in 5 years. It's a very, very aggressive task, which may not happen. I'm very honest. But you know why Japan, India, and Australia? Australia is a raw material rich, and India is a human resource rich. What turning a raw material to FG, the entire human chain in that supply chain, India has the skillful laborers, and India has labors and labors. India has very skillful people. India can transform its human resource to a skillful labor in supply chain. And Australia is very rich. Australia is very, the human resources are very less in Australia, but they are very rich in raw material rich. That's why China prospered, because of Australia's raw material. Why India they involved? Japan is the 4th largest investor in India. The FDI flow is 33.5 billion. They are already, Japan, Australia, India are already strategic partners in diplomatic, military, and industrial fields. You must have heard Quad. You must have heard several other agreements. You must have heard the economic agreements happened between these 4 countries, US, India, Japan, and Australia. And that this is the entire initiative, this resilience is line with that. India is a big consumer market. India will cross China's population in 2050. India will be 165 billion people, and China will be around 152, as the data says. Skill, labor, and infrastructural ability India has. India has a potential to spread as a very ethical, democratic government that will spread the supply arm to the Asian countries. So there is a market beyond India. And in India also already put the policy in place, which is called Act East policy. Withdrawal from China over the years is a mandatory call to make, and it would make us a self-reliance too. The Atmanirbhar has not come with some political jumla. It has come with a thought process, and the world is aligned with that. This is the first time in the history of industry where India is telling a high-class aircraft manufacturing company who are not even given to do a square-inch drawing earlier, to that their 50%, 59% parts will be manufactured in India. and that company agrees to that. So there is a big alignment India has done with the world. So let us be part of that change as a big society, as a big industrial sector of paint. Always remember, never before situation needs a never before thinking. Pandemic was not planned, maybe planned and not planned, there's a discussion going on, but we never thought of this pandemic. So situation we landed in, it was never before. So that's why dealing took time. We did not understand how to handle, and that's okay. It's a first time learning like a child. But now, since we learned, we will have to think in never before way. If we think the same way, and we go back to again our inertia of working in the earlier way, we are finished. Digital transformation has the potential to unlock a huge value chain creation. The entire source to supply to consumption chain is brewing around. Just smell that and test. That will be a beautiful test for us. That will be a very encouraging test for us. Don't get depressed with this pandemic. Don't get depressed with current situation. Don't get depressed with current problems. They will be there, and we are there because problems are there. If the problems are not that, why a group like you, intellectuals should be around? We are not laborers. We are thinking people. We are thinkers. So thinkers need to be there when there is a problem, and that's what the thinker job is. And India is still, remember, the unique allocation of India in the world. Agriculture, 42% workforce of total, 62 crore workforce, 42%, 26 crore in agriculture, 15% of GDP. Industry, 25% of workforce, 25% of the GDP. And services, 32% of the workforce, 50%, 49.88% of the GDP. This is a unique combination in any country in the world. After studying every country's work allocation, the sector allocation, and GDP allocation, I have studied that, and I'm telling you, this is the unique country. And I'm not saying because I'm Indian, this is India. This is the unique country as the world thinking. This analysis, very big world leaders are doing. That this country has such a huge population, the age between age group 15 to 61, 67% population of 134 crore. That means some of the population is still can be converted into workforce. Above 61, only 7%. This country is getting younger. When 2050, our population will 165 crore. 86% people will be between the age group from 0 to 61. When China will have 39% people above 60. China is getting older. So, whatever 3 decades China enjoyed, like C.K. Prahlad always used to say, right? Which I remember when I was in US, he was in one of the forum, he said, and I was present there. He said, India is an elephant. When the elephant wakes up and start to dance, everybody has to vacate the stage. And guys, I'm telling you honestly, that time has come. This will happen. The pandemic situation, people will, the healthcare industry is struggling, people are struggling, lives are losing, this all will go, this will subside one day. But at the same time, when you are in problem, you need to get ready for the solution. You can't have a luxury to wait till the entire thing will be, the world will be nice without any pandemic things, and then we will start changing. No, supply chain transformation should happen right now. Change is constant. Darwin told us it's not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. So if you want to survive, a new business model is coming. Online experience model, virtual business, customer interaction virtual, person-to-person sale is a history. Teleworking is a reality. Time, expense, energy saving programs are going on. Right now, today we are talking. How many people are in the squad? 79? 80 people coming to a hall, driving their own car. Everybody is sitting on a dais and talking to each other, having some snacks, spending time, energy, and money. That's all saved. These are the live example. That's how the world is. Business will happen without spending anything on other cost. Location does not matter anymore. Kindly change the attitude, and it will change the aptitude too. And I will tell you a good news. As per the research, as per the surveys being done in last 1 year, India has both the aptitude and ability to change the attitude. There is a huge young population standing in front of us. Like while introducing Honorable C.J. Bhumkar, Priyaji said that he was a man of innovation. He always pumped in the innovation in people. Such a great leader we are running the forum with on his name. So we need to change. We need to change that. And we need to really become part of change. This is the game plan. ABCD of game plan as I draw. ABCD, accept the reality we are in. See, always remember in life, we are where we are. You can't change. You can't be nostalgic. You can't just keep pulling your past from cupboards and start saying that, oh, bad days, good days were there. That's all humbug. We accept where we are. The moment anybody accepts this problem, the only option is solution. So believe in ourselves most. We are the best population in the world. We are the youngest country in the world. We are the most relational DNA country in the world. And that's why government also shifted the focus. They made this time the fiscal deficit budget to 8 to 9%. Doesn't matter if they got rid of that baggage of 3.5%. Because it's a different country, it's a different ball game, different economical DNA. It will need a different rule. We will not follow the stupid rules put by world on us. We'll believe in ourselves. What we do for our country base, what we do for our situation, we'll do. If supply chain has created a problem, if raw material has created a problem for my business, why can't I change myself to become a raw material person? Why can't I change myself to be a owner of the problem and changing the problem to solution? And not blaming the situation and start doing analysis paralysis on that. C is collaborate. There are huge business growth opportunities. The big fishes are hunting for the small fishes in the world, and you are the best proposition for them. Kindly find out, there are such several things happening. We have done a business in particular way, so what? That was good for that time. We need to change. You can't use our childhood or collegian or younger days to fight our later age. We need a different strategy. I always say that body has an instinct and intuition has a soul has an intuition. The game plan has shifted from instinct to intuition because we are doing business in particular way with the instinct. And now we have to go on an intuition game. That's a chase game. And divert as early as to domestic needs and tie up outside. For a society, I would have one request with humbleness and with due respect to all, kindly enlarge the society orbit. Make the orbit so bigger that you become the strategist. Strategists are not sitting on Wall Street or in New York or in Shanghai or in some forums in Europe or some World Economic Forums. No, we are the strategists for our country. The World Economic Forum happened at Cullen Society for Pen Industry. So enlarge the orbit, and that will make the change happen. And for the first time in 5 decades, government is all for it. There will be a bureaucratic issue. Don't worry about it. We can solve that. I can tell you with my past experience, and I have several lectures with ISPA people and discuss also with the various people. If you have a right proposal, the government has changed. The government also want to change, right? They are also changing their side. Don't worry about it. Believe that. Let us believe ourselves. A country like Philippines, a country like Vietnam, they are having a growth rate of 12, 14, 15%. And a country like India, the youngmost country, getting younger country in the world, cannot do that? Yes, we can. The only thing is we have to accept that there is a problem, and then this side effect of acceptance is you will start believing in yourself. All the best for you to believe in yourself. All the best for Color Society for doing this. I would definitely it's my privilege to be with you. I'm so thankful for patient listening. And with whatever knowledge I have, if I'll return up something in your evening, I'll be grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you for the excellent lecture, Mr. Karanjikar. I have to say that the lecture was extremely informative and we learned a lot from you. We are glad that you chose to join us here and share your plethora of knowledge with all of us here today. Lastly, before signing off, I would like to invite Dr. Prakash Mahanwar, the Honorable Secretary of Color Society Mumbai, to give us the vote of thanks. And also, I would like to say thank you to everyone who has joined us here today on both Zoom and YouTube. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I think This is first time we are meeting for this particular occasion, and with a great number. I could see on Zoom only there were almost 95 people they joined, and I'm keeping this YouTube also simultaneously on. There also something around what I could see, that is 80 around people. So we had total almost 150 people who joined for this particular lecture. Of course, it matters a lot who the speaker is. So it's a great opportunity for Color Society to get a speaker like Deepak Karanjikar, who is expert in these economical changes, what he observed and he has put forward in his an hour of a lecture. I really thank Sri Deepak Karanjikar for accepting our invitation. This we were discussing almost for 10 to 15 days, and then once in the evening, I think I was talking to Mr. Hulakar, and he suggested why can't we approach him. So I said, okay, why not? Then I think our Pune chapter chairman, Mr. Purandare, he contacted you, and you accepted immediately. That's our good, our luck. And the dates were finalized very compatibly. I thank Karanjikar Sahab, and as a token of appreciation, we will be sending you a memento for maybe by courier, or if you can happen to meet in Mumbai, I think that would be better to meet personally. So I thank once again for such a wonderful lecture. And as you suggested,
my friend Shirish Pongche is the first person who triggered this, and he was your past president once upon. I came through him for 2 times to lecture, so he suggested. Thank for him also.
He was your class. He was your
yeah, he's
classmate?
my classmate. He's my classmate.
That's what I heard about.
From Dhule.
So yeah. And secondly, what you suggested, that Color Society take a lead to get many more people together, technocrat from the various fields of color. Printing ink, paint is not the only field where the colors are. There are lot many, and I think Priyaji can agree to this. She must be supplying to textile industry, food industry also, specialized colors, and there are many industries. But right at the beginning, what we thought of just coming together, all the societies or associations who are dealing with the printing ink and coating, and that's how we were thinking of having a association like Plast India. Maybe we can have Coat India, where all the association come together and can have a presentation for the government under one particular roof. Of course, Color India also can be one of the best idea to come together, many more associations, and can represent the government of India, or suggesting some of the policy changes or requesting some of the policy changes. I think that definitely a good suggestion, and Color Society definitely will work in that direction.
Thank you.
I thank Mr. Manik Saranke for organizing this particular lecture, as well as taking pains to get the things in particular manner. I think he's working on this for last 2 to 3 days for internet connectivity, checking the software and so many things. I thank Mr. Purandare also for supporting us, and this is the first occasion where Pune chapter has participated to the maximum extent. I thank Mr. S.P. Joshi for sharing his personal interactions with Honorable C.J. Bhumkar, and I always call him as a mentor for myself, because I happen to meet him many times, and we discuss many aspects of management, not of the technology. I thank Priyaji, because with her busy schedule, she thought that she will be there for more than an hour.
Never too busy for this, for the Color Society and for my father-in-law.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
we
never too busy to hear a wonderful speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, and I think we will keep in touch with, and we can have many more interactions hereafter also.
Sure.
And lastly, but not specific, like Mr. Aditya Dapre, who is a coordinator for this program, who coordinated this program first time. So maybe there are some mistakes. I think we should accept that, and we will encourage him. And last but not least, all the participants who joined on YouTube, as well as on Zoom. I thank all of them for making this evening really a great success. Thank you. Thank you very much.